Welcome to my channel. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and like. The acrid smoke of burning engines still clung to Liam Carver's nostrils, a sharp sting that seared his throat with every breath. He sat huddled in his cell, back pressed against the cold metal wall, eyes fixed on the murky reinforced glass. Beyond it, the universe stretched endlessly, strange stars glittering like silver flecks on an infinite black canvas. Occasionally, the shadowy form of a Krendar warship glided past, its angular, predatory lines gleaming like the claws of a cosmic beast, metal flashing under the faint starlight. 5 days had passed since the Krendar fleet intercepted his transport ship, Starwind, an old but reliable vessel he'd piloted through dozens of star systems. "Neutral ship," he'd signaled, voice cracking as explosions rocked the hull. "Carrying food and medical supplies to the Eridanus colony, fully licensed." But the signal echoed into the void, unanswered. Instead, a barrage of photon rounds tore through the ship, blinding blue-green beams slicing steel like a hot knife through butter. The screams of his crew still haunted him. Harris, the chief engineer, always carrying an unlit cigar, sucked into the vacuum with eyes wide in terror. Lila, the navigator, with her unshakable optimism even on the riskiest runs, crushed under collapsing steel, her frail hand reaching for a fleeting hope. 17 people, his second family, who'd shared long nights in the void with him, now reduced to names carved into his memory, each one a knife in his heart. The cell door hissed open, a cold pneumatic whine snapping Liam from his memories. 2 Krendar guards stepped in, their towering forms clad in metallic scales that shimmered under the cell block's blue-white light, like polished gems honed to razor edges. Their crescent-shaped eyes, molten gold, glared at him with frigid contempt, devoid of any spark of life. "Stand, human!" one commanded through a translator, its voice dry and grating, like stone on stone, empty of warmth. Liam rose slowly, his body aching from days confined in the cramped space, where he could only curl up or sit with knees drawn tight. They'd stripped him of his pilot's uniform, the last tether to his free life, replacing it with a coarse gray jumpsuit, frayed and marked with Krendar symbols he couldn't read, perhaps a code, or a curse in their tongue. On his left wrist, a fresh tattoo throbbed, a slave mark burned into his skin with searing plasma, leaving a strange spiral that branded him as property. Each movement grazed the fabric against it, a constant reminder of his new reality. "Where to?" Liam asked, voice hoarse from days of silence, though he knew no answer would come. The taller guard raised an electric baton, purple light flaring before it struck his shoulder. Pain erupted like fire, dropping Liam to his knees, hand clutching the wound, teeth clenched to stifle a groan. "Slaves don't question," the guard growled, the translator dripping with disdain. They yanked him up, snapping magnetic cuffs around his wrists, the force numbing his hands as if blood had stopped flowing. They shoved him forward, their heavy steps echoing on the metal floor. Through the labyrinthine corridors of the massive ship, Liam observed everything with a predator's focus, not fear. Every shadowed corner, every control panel, every seam in the walls, he memorized them, building a mental map. He wasn't just a transport pilot, not just a survivor. For 3 years, he'd scoured the frontier systems, from grimy spaceports to desolate colonies, chasing whispers of Krendar raids. He'd traded credits with smugglers, risked his life hacking encrypted port databases, bribed officials with his last coins. All for a trace of his brother, Milo, lost when his civilian ship was attacked in Krendar space. Milo, the 15-year-old with wide brown eyes and a smile that softened Liam's darkest days. He'd boarded a ship to a new colony, dreaming of becoming an engineer, only to vanish with 200 others. Whispers in spacer bars, leaked data fragments, all pointed to one name, Zycra. The arena planet, where the Krendar Empire turned prisoners into blood-soaked spectacles, where survivors became legends or ash. Liam didn't believe in fate, but as he was shoved through a heavy steel door into a crowded cell filled with bizarre creatures from across the galaxy, a cold certainty settled in. This was where he needed to be. Zycra, the Krendar's crucible of death, where Milo might be held, or worse, turned into a pawn in their brutal games. The cell reeked of sweat and dried blood, air thick with despair. Other prisoners, a Gryvac built like granite, a feathered creature with clipped wings, a tentacle being twitching in the corner, watched him with eyes ranging from curiosity to hostility. Liam ignored them. He sank into a corner, back against rusted metal, fingers brushing the small folding knife hidden in his jumpsuit, Milo's gift, not just a birthday present but a vow. He'd sworn by their parents' graves, under Earth's gray sky, to find Milo, no matter the cost. A distant screech signaled another door opening. Liam's head snapped up, eyes sharp as his blade. A Krendar overseer, smaller than the guards but with shimmering golden scales, entered, holding a glowing data slate. L19. It called, voice icy through the translator. Prepare. The arena awaits. Liam stood silent, but his mind churned with plans. The arena wasn't just a slaughterhouse. It was an opportunity. If Milo was here, Liam would find him. And if Zycra was the start of this nightmare, it would also be where he ended it. The Zycra arena rose from the green desert like an ancient, brutal scar, unyielding and savage, as if carved from the planet's very bones. Towering stone pillars, blackened by centuries of blood and fire, stretched skyward, supporting grandstands packed with thousands of Krendar spectators. Their scales glittered under the harsh light of Zycra's twin suns, one blood-red, one ice-blue, casting eerie shadows across the shimmering emerald sand. The structure, hewn from native rock and reinforced with alien alloys, radiated the cold efficiency of a killing machine, every edge steeped in the history of merciless combat. Below ground, the holding cells were stifling iron cages, air heavy with sweat, dried blood, and silent despair. Liam Carver leaned against a cold stone wall, breaths measured, eyes sharp as they scanned the space. He wasn't despairing. He was calculating. Every guard's footfall, every hiss of steel doors, every shift change, he memorized them, weaving an invisible map in his mind. The other prisoners, creatures from across the galaxy, watched in silence or cowered in corners, but Liam paid them no mind. He was searching, not just for escape, but for fragments leading to Milo. A heavy tread shook the metal floor as a massive figure approached. A Gryvac, its granite-like body rippling with 6 muscular limbs, its angular face crisscrossed with scars. A deep gash ran from forehead to left eye, as if someone had tried to cleave its skull in two. First time in the pit, human? Its voice rumbled, almost friendly, but its eyes were cold as stone. Name's Varkis. Word is, your opponent Serena. Vicious. Former Krendar commander. Demoted for sparing a human civilian ship during the virus campaign. Liam's eyes narrowed, mind racing. Serena. A name he'd overheard in spacer bars, where drunken pilots whispered of legends. A Krendar officer who defied orders, refusing to torch a human colony, saving thousands but losing her honor and power. If Milo was alive, if he was on Zycra, someone like Serena might know. She could be the key. Not scared? Varkis asked, tilting its head, the scar twitching like a living thing. Liam didn't answer, closing his eyes, fingers tightening around the folding knife hidden in his jumpsuit, Milo's gift for his 20th birthday, a small metal blade he'd concealed through searches with tricks learned from smugglers. It wasn't just a weapon, it was memory, the vow he'd made by his parents' graves under Earth's gray sky, find Milo, no matter the cost. Varkis let out a dry laugh, like cracking stone. Quiet, huh? Good. Quiet lasts longer. It turned away, but not before tossing back a final remark. Serena doesn't like to lose. And she never has. Liam opened his eyes, gaze icy. Winning or losing didn't matter. Surviving did. Surviving to find Milo. The cell stirred as a Krendar overseer entered, its golden scales shimmering, clutching a glowing data slate. L19. It called, voice cutting like steel through the translator. Prepare. The arena awaits. The other prisoners glanced at Liam, some curious, others pitying. A feathered creature with clipped wings muttered a prayer in an alien tongue. Liam stood, body aching but steps steady. The overseer checked his magnetic cuffs, tightening them until his wrists burned. No foolish moves, human. It hissed, crescent eyes flashing. Zycra does not forgive. Liam said nothing, but a plan took shape in his mind. The arena was a place of death, but also a stage to send a message. If Milo was here, he'd hear it. If Serena knew something, Liam would make her talk. The corridor to the arena was a maze of steel and stone, each of Liam's steps echoing like a war drum. Guards marched ahead, plasma spears glinting, ready to impale him for a misstep. But Liam wasn't afraid. He'd faced death before, in radiation storms at the Star Belt, in skirmishes with space pirates, in long nights when only Milo's memory kept him sane. The Zycra arena was just another challenge. A massive steel gate groaned open, blinding light from the twin suns flooding in, searing his eyes. The crowd's roar hit like a tidal wave, shaking the air. Liam stepped out, green sand sinking under his boots, hot as embers. He looked up at the packed grandstands, Krendar scales gleaming like a sea of jewels, from the blue of the lower castes to the gold of the elite. This wasn't just a fight. It was a blood festival. And he, L-19, was the prey. The Krendar crowd's roars crashed over Liam Carver like a tidal wave, shaking the scorching air of the Zycra arena. The twin suns, one blood-red, one ice-blue, hung overhead, blistering his skin, sweat dripping from his brow onto the shimmering green sand beneath his feet. Thousands of spectators filled the grandstands, their scales flashing like a jewel sea, from the blue of the lower castes to the gold of the elite, the hiss of scales rubbing together forming a deadly symphony. Liam stood at the arena's heart, body taut, eyes razor-sharp as they scanned the crowd, searching for a sign, anything that could lead to Milo. But there was only the clamor for blood and the blinding glare of the suns. A bloated arena master, draped in a crimson ceremonial robe, stepped onto a high platform, scaled arms raised for silence. Today's contest. Its voice boomed through amplifiers, cold as steel. Serena of House Vorin, seeking honor through the trial of blood. The crowd erupted, their roar tearing the sky. Her opponent, a human slave, L-19, condemned for violating our space. Jeers mixed with mocking laughter. Liam didn't flinch, his gaze icy. The opposite gate screeched open with a metallic groan, and Serena emerged. Tall, her blue-green scales shimmering like pearls, each step a declaration of power. Her sharp face, with deep purple eyes like abysses, radiated danger and arrogance. She wore light armor, covering only shoulders and legs, exposing a muscular midriff scarred from countless battles, marks of a warrior's life. In her hand, a curved sword gleamed, its blade reflecting the sunlight like a lethal crescent, every motion precise and terrifying. Liam's magnetic cuffs were removed, his wrists throbbing as blood rushed back. But a neural control collar remained around his neck, a sleek, deadly device ready to shock or poison him if he attacked a guard or fled. The arena master tossed him a blunt wooden staff, heavy and rough, as if scavenged from scrap. It was near useless against Serena's blade, but Liam gripped it, feeling its weight, seeking balance. He didn't need a good weapon. He needed to survive. Serena advanced, her movements fluid like a predator's, purple eyes locked on him, probing every twitch. A mute, she taunted in human tongue, her voice smooth but sharp as a blade, deliberately clear to humiliate him. Not worth an opponent. She spat, a stream of blue-green liquid hitting Liam's cheek, burning like acid. The crowd roared with laughter, scales hissing like a storm. But Liam didn't move, didn't wipe it away, his cold eyes fixed on Serena. He saw it, a flicker of unease in her gaze, as if his silence unnerved her. Fight, slave! She snarled, raising her sword, the blade flashing. The arena master lifted a ceremonial blade, its metal blazing, and slashed down. Begin! Serena lunged, swift as lightning, her sword arcing in a deadly curve toward Liam's neck. He dodged, the blade missing by inches, its whistle leaving a hot gust in its wake. She didn't pause, attacking relentlessly, each strike precise, a machine programmed to kill. One aimed at his chest, another at his legs, a third slashing across his shoulder, each could end him in a heartbeat. But Liam evaded, movements minimal, no step wasted, his body flowing like a calculated dance. He rolled, leaped back, tilted his head, letting the blade pass within a hair's breadth. The crowd's bloodlust shifted to murmurs, then astonishment. The human slave wasn't just surviving, he was defying Serena. Liam didn't just dodge, he analyzed. Her movements, her grip, her breathing, all were clues. She was fast, but each powerful swing slowed her for a fraction of a second, exposing a fleeting vulnerability. After a flurry of missed strikes, Serena roared in fury, swinging too hard, her blade embedding in the sand. Liam seized the moment, using his staff to block her sword arm, the force staggering her. He spun, delivering a precise kick to her right knee, where her armor gapped. A crack echoed, and she crumpled, purple eyes wide with shock. Before she could recover, Liam drove a fist into her temple, where her scales were thinnest. 12 seconds from the match's start, Serena collapsed, unconscious, her sword falling, glinting in the sunlight. The arena fell silent, time frozen. Then the grandstands exploded, chants of "Kill! Kill! Kill!" shaking the stone pillars. Liam dropped the staff, its thud faint amid the frenzy. He turned to the main grandstand, where the arena master and Krendar elites sat, his gaze defiant, wordless. He didn't kill, not out of mercy, but strategy. Serena was valuable. She knew something about Milo, and he needed her alive. Guards rushed in, plasma spears leveled, blue light flaring with lethal intent. The crowd booed, hurling metal shards into the arena, enraged at being denied blood. Liam didn't resist, letting them drag him back to the cells, the neural collar tightening, sending small shocks as a warning. But in the darkness of the holding pens, as the crowd's roars faded, whispers spread among the prisoners. "The human beat a Krendar warrior," a hoarse voice said. "The human didn't kill," another replied, awestruck. Liam sank against the wall, Milo's folding knife in hand. He'd sent a message. If Milo was here, he'd hear it. And if Serena knew anything, she would talk. Serena woke in the medbay, her head pounding as if struck by a hammer, each heartbeat a blow to her temples. The white-blue light of medical scanners pierced her deep purple eyes, forcing her to grit her teeth to suppress a groan. The air was cold, sterile, heavy with the scent of chemicals and metal, stirring memories of her imprisonment after the virus campaign, the day she lost everything. She pushed herself up, muscles screaming in protest, as if torn apart. "The human, where is he?" Her voice was a rasp, hoarse but unyielding. A Krendar medical officer, scales gleaming like polished steel, looked up from a glowing data slate. "The slave's back in the pens," he replied, voice flat, as if reporting a mundane fact. Serena clenched her fists, scales on her knuckles trembling faintly. "I want to see him," she said, voice sharp as a blade, though pain forced her to draw a steadying breath. The officer hesitated, crescent eyes narrowing, weighing the risk. But Serena's gaze, lethal as her sword, brooked no refusal. He nodded, tapping the slate to send the order. An hour later, Liam Carver was led into a sealed chamber deep within the Zykrus ship. His hands were bound by magnetic cuffs, their force burning his wrists, blood flow nearly cut off. 2 Krendar guards flanked him, plasma rifles glinting blue, ready to fire at any moment. The room's air was thick, filled only with the hum of ventilation and the faint scrape of Serena's scales as she stood in the center. She gestured sharply, a commanding flick of her hand. "Leave us!" One guard, scales dull green, stepped forward, voice laced with doubt through the translator. "Warrior, the regulations!" Serena cut him off, snarling, scales on her neck quivering like a coiled serpent. "I said leave us! Or shall I report your disobedience to the overseer?" Her voice echoed, forcing both guards to retreat, their crescent eyes blinking rapidly. The door sealed with a dry clank, leaving Liam and Serena in a tense silence, lit only by a dim overhead bulb. Serena circled Liam slowly, a predator sizing up prey. Her blue-green scales caught the light, casting shimmering patterns. This time, her eyes held no contempt, only curiosity and a grudging respect. "You should have killed me," she said, voice low, almost a whisper, each word sharp as a knife. Arena law demands victory sealed in blood. Liam remained silent, his gaze steady, unyielding, as if her words were mere breezes. Serena stepped closer, purple eyes probing his face for a crack, a hint of weakness. You're not like other slaves, she continued, voice softer, as if speaking to herself. Your skills, military training, yes? Special forces, perhaps? No reaction. Not a blink. Serena stopped, inches away, her breath carrying the scent of metal and faint smoke. I've killed men like you. Fast, strong, trained to survive. But none dodged like you. None looked at me like you, not with hate, but with purpose. Who are you? Liam's eyes flicked to a surveillance node on the ceiling, its red light blinking steadily. Serena caught the glance instantly. In a blur, she struck the node, sparks flying as it fizzled out. Malfunction, she said, voice calm, as if she'd merely spilled a drink. Now speak. Liam carefully drew Milo's folding knife from his jumpsuit, movements slowed to avoid seeming threatening. He opened it, revealing a small etching, a boy's face, wide brown eyes, a radiant smile like sunlight. My brother, he whispered, breaking his silence for the first time, voice rough from disuse, heavy with buried pain. Milo. Missing on Zycra. Serena studied the etching, her purple eyes flickering with something complex, as if a memory stirred, pulling her back to darker days. I know those eyes, she said slowly, voice dropping to a near whisper. Rumors speak of northern camps, Sector D9. Your kind, held for breeding. Brown eyes hunted for a rare mutation, adaptation to Krendar's harsh environments. Liam's grip tightened, nails digging into his palms, blood seeping in tiny drops. Where? His voice was ice, a blade honed to kill. Serena turned away, steps heavy, scales on her back quivering as if reflecting an inner storm. You spared me because you need me, she said, voice low, as if convincing herself. But helping you, I betray everything, House Voren, my honor, all I was. She froze, back rigid, as if staring into an abyss. Then, abruptly, she pulled a thin code card from her armor, a small metal strip glinting faintly, and pressed it into Liam's hand, her movement so swift he barely reacted. Northern Camp, Sector D9, she whispered, voice hoarse. Go during tomorrow's Radiance Festival, security's weakest. But beware, human. Zycra's overseer does not forgive traitors. Liam nodded, slipping the card into his pocket, eyes never leaving Serena, searching for deceit. But in her purple eyes, he saw only a painful resolve. As the guards returned, Serena shouted, feigning rage. Take him! But their brief, intense glance carried a silent vow, a fragile alliance forged, sharp as any blade. The Radiance Festival transformed Zycra's arena into a blazing sea of color, as if the planet briefly forgot its savage nature. Krendar banners fluttered in the hot wind, weaving sinuous patterns against the blue sky, each glinting as if woven from starlight. The grandstands overflowed, tens of thousands of Krendar packed tight, scales flashing in every hue, their laughter, bets, and hissing scales blending into a chaotic symphony that shook the air. Stalls lined the arena, selling bizarre wares, glowing grilled meat steaming like lava, bubbling drinks smelling of molten metal. Below, in the preparation pits, Liam Carver sat motionless on a cold steel bench as overseers painted his body with red sigils, marking him a notable fighter. Each stroke was a reminder, he was entertainment prey. Around him, other fighters prepared, a feathered creature whispered trembling prayers, a tentacle being growled, slamming fists against the wall to steady itself. Big crowd, human! An overseer mocked, checking Liam's magnetic cuffs, tightening them until his wrists burned. Serena paid dearly to ensure your death is memorable. Liam didn't react, his gaze icy, as if the words were nothing. In his mind, a plan took shape, each piece slotted like a technical schematic. The festival, Serena, Sector D9, Milo. In the grandstands, the overseer of Zycra, a Krendar with radiant golden scales, spoke through amplifiers, his voice cold and commanding. A rematch of honor, he declared, dripping with mockery. Serena of House Voren against the human slave who dared defy tradition. Liam was led into the arena, the twin sun's glare searing his eyes, forcing him to squint. The crowd's response was mixed. Some cheered the slave who spared. Curious. Others screamed for blood, scales rattling like a storm. The overseer himself descended, golden scales gleaming like a war god, and removed Liam's Nero control collar, a rare ritual for major bouts. "Let none say we deny slaves a chance to die with honor," he said, crescent eyes flashing contempt. Liam said nothing, his gaze locked on the overseer, memorizing every detail. His movements, his voice, his arrogance. From the opposite gate, Serena emerged, clad in sleek black armor, blue-green scales shimmering like a living gem. Her purple eyes found Liam, a silent confirmation flickering within, a reminder of their fragile alliance. The fight began, but it wasn't a true battle. Serena and Liam had choreographed it, a calculated dance to fool the crowd. Serena's curved sword swung in flamboyant arcs, the blade flashing under the suns, but each strike missed by design, grazing Liam by inches. He countered with his blunt wooden staff, slow, heavy blows dragging out the performance, like an actor on a deadly stage. The crowd roared, enthralled by the spectacle, blind to the deception. Liam moved, keeping distance, eyes never leaving Serena, watching for her signal. At the 3-minute mark, near the western wall, she gave it, a subtle nod, nearly imperceptible. Liam feigned a stumble, dropping to one knee in the sand, green dust billowing. Serena raised her sword, shouting, "For honor!" The crowd bellowed, thirsting for blood. But instead of striking, she spun, hurling her sword with lethal precision. The blade soared, piercing a control panel on the overseer's platform, sparking an explosion of fire and black smoke. Chaos erupted. Alarms wailed, drowning the crowd's roars. Guards rushed the platform, plasma spears blazing, ignoring Liam and Serena in the pandemonium. Serena grabbed Liam's arm, pulling him toward a maintenance hatch hidden beneath a decorative panel, the steel door hissing as it sealed behind them. In the dark, the air was hot and stifling, filled with their ragged breaths. 15 minutes, Serena whispered, voice hoarse, pressing a small bag into Liam's hands. Gas mask, makeshift stun gun, signal jammer. Sector D9. Go! Liam nodded, eyes sharp. No thanks given, not from ingratitude, but because time allowed none. He plunged into the tunnel maze, footsteps echoing on metal. Behind him, Serena turned back, facing the advancing guards, their plasma spears casting light on her face. She raised her hands, feigning surrender, purple eyes blazing defiance. As they closed in, she struck, a whirlwind of precise blows felling 3 with strikes to neck and chest. But their numbers overwhelmed her, and magnetic cuffs snapped around her wrists. "The human escapes while you waste time with me," she laughed, voice dripping with scorn as they dragged her away. "Fools!" In the tunnel's darkness, Liam gripped the bag, Milo's folding knife in hand. Sector D9. Milo. He'd reach it, no matter the cost. The maintenance tunnels beneath Psychra's arena were a sweltering labyrinth, air thick with the stench of machine oil and scorched metal, hot as a furnace. The drone of machinery echoed, mingling with the pounding of Liam Carver's heart as he raced through narrow corridors, dim blue light flickering from overhead bulbs. He moved swiftly, steps light but sure, guided by Serena's terse directions, each word etched in his memory like a living map. The signal jammer in his hand hummed, emitting waves that disrupted Krendar patrol comms, keeping their golden crescent eyes at bay. Sweat stung his eyes, but Liam didn't stop. Milo was somewhere in this darkness, and every second was a razor's edge between life and death. He reached Station B3, a small alcove behind a rusted panel. Following Serena's instructions, he pried it open, revealing a hidden cache, a gas mask to filter Zykra's toxic air, a makeshift stun gun crafted from arena tech, and a crude map of Sector D9, hand-scratched on a thin metal sheet. Liam checked them quickly, stowing the mask and map, gripping the gun, its cold weight grounding him. 10 minutes. That's how long it took to reach the camp's outskirts, where the air shifted from stifling heat to a sterile chill, like a metal tomb. The first checkpoint loomed, a reinforced steel gate bathed in cold blue light. Two Krendar guards stood watch, gray scales glinting, plasma rifles glowing like dead stars. Liam crouched in the shadows, activating the jammer, its hum fading as it scrambled their comms. One guard looked up, crescent eyes narrowing, sensing something amiss, but too late. Liam sprang, swift as lightning, striking a precise blow to the neck, a weak point Varkis had mentioned in the pens, where scale joints were brittle. The guard collapsed silent. The second spun, rifle raised, but Liam kicked its knee, dropping it, then smashed the stun guns but into its temple. Both lay still, blue blood seeping from cracked scales. Liam exhaled, scanning the corridor. Quiet. He advanced into the camp, its halls lit by icy blue light, reinforced doors with small windows like soulless eyes. Through them, he glimpsed captives, a feathered creature with severed wings, feathers falling, a gelatinous being twitching in an electrified cage, sparks flaring. Liam forced himself forward, heart hammering, each step a mantra, Milo is here somewhere. Sector D9 appeared after a turn, a long hallway of heavy doors, the air so cold his breath formed mist. Through a door's small window, Liam saw a teenager, about 18, sitting on a sterile white slab, matted brown hair obscuring his face. Wide brown eyes, dulled by pain, were unmistakable. Milo. Liam's heart clenched, as if squeezed by a fist. He pounded the glass, the sound echoing in the silent hall, a desperate cry. The boy looked up, eyes vacant, then slowly brightening, as if hope flickered from ashes. Liam? Milo's voice was faint, barely audible, but enough to flood Liam with burning resolve. He swiped Serena's code card through the lock. The door hissed, opening slowly, and Milo stumbled into his arms, frail body trembling, bones stark under thin clothes. You came, he whispered, tears hot against Liam's shoulder. Liam held him tight, their first embrace in 3 years, the warmth of his only family grounding him. But the reunion shattered as alarms screamed, a piercing wail slicing the air. Liam checked Milo, spotting a Nero collar around his neck, more complex than the arena's, with blinking red modules. If I leave the sector, it'll inject poison, Milo said, voice trembling, brown eyes wide with fear. Liam gritted his teeth, pulling Milo's folding knife, movements careful but swift. With skills honed from years repairing Starwind, he pried open the collar's panel, exposing delicate wires. A single mistake meant death. Sweat dripped from his chin as he worked, focus absolute. A spark flared, the smell of burnt circuits rising, and the collar went dark, clattering to the floor. Milo gasped, breathing freely for the first time in years. Liam grabbed his hand, pulling him up. Let's go. They bolted down the hall, Liam's stun gun ready, eyes scanning every shadow. Milo followed, steps unsteady but relentless. He'd found his brother. Now, he had to get him out of this hell. Liam led the way, stun gun gripped tight, blue light from Sector D9's corridors casting harsh shadows on his grim face. Milo clung close, breaths ragged, his frail frame trembling from exhaustion but brown eyes burning with resolve. The labyrinth of steel and glass twisted around them, each corner a potential death trap. Alarms wailed, a piercing screech like a blade through the air, urging them faster. Liam's eyes darted, scanning for Krendar patrols, but Serena's signal jammer kept them cloaked from surveillance. At a junction, Milo grabbed his arm, pulling him back, voice hoarse but firm. There are others, E4. I wasn't the only one. Liam halted, breath heavy, glancing at his brother. Time was slipping away. Every second risked failure. But Milo's eyes, weary yet pleading, held a fire. They're like me, Liam. They don't deserve to be left. Liam gritted his teeth, nodding. Make it quick. They raced to E4, deeper into the camp, where the air turned so cold their breaths misted. The cells here were smaller, cramped, holding 12 prisoners, humans, Gryvac, others, all scarred by breeding experiments. A man with a grafted metal arm, eyes cloudy. A Gryvac with warped scales, like melted wax. A feathered creature with shifting colors, curled in a corner. Liam swiped Serena's code card, locks clanking open. Some prisoners hesitated, eyes wary, but Milo stepped forward, his voice surprisingly gentle, a beacon in the dark. "We're leaving. Together." His certainty, forged in 3 years of hell, stunned Liam. The prisoners nodded, rising despite trembling bodies, pain, and fear. Liam took point, Milo in the middle, the ragtag group following like a broken but defiant army. They reached a wide main corridor, blue light glaring from ceiling fixtures. Liam signaled a halt, unease prickling his skin. Then a figure emerged from the shadows, massive, 6 limbs rippling, scales like granite. Varkis. The Gryvac who'd seemed friendly in the pens now blocked their path, plasma rifle glowing deadly. His eyes, once warm, were cold as stone, a bounty hunter's gaze. "You've gone too far, human," Varkis growled, voice like shattering rock. "The overseer pays well for your head." Liam pushed Milo behind him, raising the stun gun, body taut. "You sold us out?" His voice was ice, sharp as Milo's knife. Varkis laughed, a dry, joyless sound. "Freedom's an illusion, human. I choose to live." He raised his rifle, finger on the trigger, a blue-green bolt screaming toward Liam's chest. Liam rolled, the plasma grazing past, charring the wall black, acrid smoke rising. He fired the stun gun, a bolt of electricity hitting Varkis' chest, staggering him. But before collapsing, Varkis tapped a wrist device, a red light flashing. Alarms roared louder, a wounded beast's cry. Heavy boots echoed, closing in, plasma spears hissing. Liam cursed, pulling Milo and the prisoners into a sprint, stun gun still in hand. "Run!" he shouted, voice cutting through the din. The prisoners scrambled, steps chaotic but desperate, like beasts freed from cages. Liam led them through the corridors, following Serena's crude map toward the ship bay, the only way out. Varkis' betrayal stung like a blade. Liam had suspected, always wary, but a sliver of hope had lingered, that Varkis might be an ally. Now he knew, on Zykra, trust was a lie, except for Serena, and even her, he wasn't sure. They reached a final turn, the ship bay door looming, a massive steel slab with glowing Krendar runes. Liam swiped the code card, the door hissing but not budging, mocking their hope. Boots thundered closer, plasma spears screeching. "Open, damn it!" Liam snarled, pounding the door, eyes scanning for escape. Then he saw it, a wall-mounted environmental control panel, blue light flickering faintly, a last spark in the dark. He lunged, gripping Milo's knife, ready to tear through any barrier to get his brother out of this hell. The alarms shifted to lockdown mode, a shrieking wail echoing through the steel corridors of the experimental camp, like a beast's dying scream. The massive steel door began to descend, metal grinding with a torturous screech, sealing off escape. Liam Carver led the prisoners in a desperate sprint, Milo at his side, breaths gasping, brown eyes wide with fear but unyielding. The group, humans, Gryvac, others, moved in chaos, bodies battered but driven by raw desperation. Liam stopped at an environmental control panel, a metal box glowing blue on the wall. He recognized the interface, not unlike Starwind's systems. With skills from years of ship repairs, he ripped off the cover, exposing wires and circuits. "Careful," Milo whispered, glancing down the corridor where Krendar boots thundered, closing in. Liam didn't reply, hands moving fast, Milo's knife flashing as he cut a wire, rerouting a circuit. He triggered an emergency gas purge, a protocol for toxic leaks, rarely used. The screen flickered, errored, then a loud hiss erupted as security systems froze. Steel doors slammed open, magnetic locks buzzing lifeless. That was the spark. Hundreds of prisoners from other sectors, sensing freedom, burst from their cells, roaring, attacking guards with anything, broken metal, shattered glass, bare hands. A man with a grafted arm crushed a guard's skull, blue blood splattering. A feathered creature tore through armor with claws, feathers swirling. In the central control room, the camp director, a Krendar with silver scales, stared at flickering security feeds, crescent eyes wide with panic. Red alerts blazed across every sector. "Activate extermination protocol!" he bellowed, voice trembling through the translator. But Liam's sabotage slowed the system, screens flashing errors. "Access denied!" A technician screamed, gray scales quivering. The rebellion spread like wildfire, prisoners coordinating, smashing key checkpoints, guard posts, armories, backup generators. Liam led his group through the maze, aiming for the ship bay, where Krendar officials kept escape shuttles. Milo ran beside him, thin legs faltering but relentless. The group, now 8, gasped, blood and sweat soaking their ragged forms. An explosion roared ahead, dust and smoke flooding the corridor. A squad of elite guards, clad in gleaming black armor, blocked their path, plasma rifles blazing, golden eyes like molten lava, each step shaking the floor. Liam pulled Milo behind a collapsed wall, the prisoners huddling, eyes terrified. A Gryvac charged, roaring, but a plasma bolt pierced its chest, dropping it in a smoking heap. "We can't beat them," Milo whispered, voice shaking, clutching Liam's sleeve. Liam looked at him, then at the prisoners, a man coughing blood, a feathered creature shielding another. "We don't need to win," Liam said, voice low, resolute. "Just hold them." He leaped out, stun gun flashing, dropping a guard with a shot to the neck. He rolled, dodging a plasma bolt, snatching the fallen guard's rifle, its heat searing his hands. A precise strike to a second guard's knee dropped it, and Liam fired, plasma-piercing armor, smoke rising. But a bolt grazed his shoulder, leaving a burning gash, blood soaking his jumpsuit. Pain blazed, but he gritted his teeth, pulling Milo and the survivors through a narrow door into the ship bay. Darkness enveloped them, broken only by faint control panel lights. 3 escape shuttles loomed, sleek as metal beasts, but only one glowed active, green lights flickering. Liam exhaled, but boots echoed from the corridor, closer, deadlier. He turned, eyes sharp, plasma rifle raised. "Get to the ship, Milo," he ordered, voice brooking no argument. Milo nodded, leading the prisoners aboard, his eyes heavy with worry. Liam stood fast, back to the doorframe, bracing for the storm. The rebellion had begun, and he wouldn't let it end. The ship bay was a steel cavern, air thick with oil and hot metal. 3 escape shuttles stood silent, their sleek forms cold, like dormant predators. Liam tapped the nearest shuttle's control panel. Green lights flickered, engines humming, ready. He exhaled, relief fleeting. Milo and the prisoners, now 6, crowded into the cramped hold, eyes frantic but hopeful. "Start it," Milo whispered, voice trembling, clutching his wounded arm, blood seeping through torn cloth. Liam nodded, sliding into the pilot's seat, hands dancing over controls, familiar from Starwind days. But an explosion rocked the entrance, shaking the steel floor, dust and smoke swirling like a tempest. Liam raised his plasma rifle, shielding Milo, eyes piercing the dark. A figure emerged, tall, blue-green scales glinting, armor streaked with Krendar blood. Serena. Her curved sword dripped blue, pooling on the floor, blade flashing in the dim light. "Too slow, human," she said, voice hoarse but tinged with grim humor, as if she just survived a maelstrom. Liam nodded, a gesture of thanks, but his gaze lingered. Something was off. Serena wasn't cuffed, no guards pursued, no sign of the fight she should have endured to reach them. She stood free, untouched. "How'd you escape?" he asked, tightening his grip on the rifle, finger brushing the trigger. Milo stepped back, brown eyes wide, sensing the tension. Serena met Liam's gaze, purple eyes flickering with something deep, not arrogance, not hostility, but buried pain. "I didn't escape," she said, voice low, almost a whisper. "I was released." Before Liam could react, she pulled a small metal orb from her armor, glinting faintly. She activated it, and a hologram flickered to life, hazy but sharp, showing the overseer of Xykra, golden scales blazing, crescent eyes smug. "Serena, you've done well." His voice cut, cold as a blade. "Lead the human to the ship bay. Now eliminate him and the rebels. House Voron's honor will be restored." Liam's blood froze, air sucked from the room. Milo gasped, breath shaky, clutching Liam's sleeve. The prisoners muttered, eyes wild, some raising makeshift weapons, ready to fight. "You betrayed us?" Liam asked, voice like ice, rifle aimed at Serena's chest. She stood silent, purple eyes locked on his, unblinking. Then, suddenly, she smashed the hologram device against the floor, shards scattering, sparks flaring like dying stars. "I'm no one's puppet," she said, voice trembling with rage, scales on her neck quivering like a storm. "I helped you because I chose to, not him." She stepped forward, ignoring Liam's rifle, eyes ablaze. "The Overseer forced me to spy," she said, words sharp, honest. "He promised to restore House Voren, everything I lost after Virus. But after our fight, I saw it. Loyalty to the Empire is a trap. I saw what they did to your brother, to others in D9. If I go back, I'm not me anymore." Liam hesitated, finger still on the trigger, eyes probing for deceit. But in her purple gaze, he saw only raw truth, a warrior who'd burned all bridges to stand at the final line. Milo touched his arm, voice soft but sure. "She's telling the truth, Liam. I see it in her eyes." Liam exhaled, lowering the rifle, but his gaze stayed sharp. "Then help us get out," he said, voice low, a challenge. Serena nodded, drawing her sword, turning to the entrance where boots thundered closer, deadlier. "Get in the ship," she ordered, voice unyielding. "I'll hold them." Liam didn't argue, pushing Milo and the prisoners into the hold, sliding into the pilot's seat. Engines hummed, controls lighting up. But as he glanced back, seeing Serena alone at the door, sword raised against the oncoming guards, he knew their alliance, fragile as it was all they had. The escape shuttle's engines roared to life, a guttural hum shaking the steel floor of the ship bay, like a beast waking from slumber. Liam Carver sat in the pilot's seat, hands steady on the controls, eyes locked on the console as green lights flickered, signaling systems online. Milo stood beside him, brown eyes wide, clutching the co-pilot's chair, blood still seeping from his wounded arm, staining his torn jumpsuit. The 6 surviving prisoners, humans, a Gryvac, a feathered creature, huddled in the hold, their breaths ragged, eyes darting toward the entrance where Serena stood, her curved sword flashing, blue-green scales glinting under the dim light. Krendar guards stormed in, black armor gleaming, plasma spears blazing like miniature suns, their golden crescent eyes burning with fury. Serena fought like a whirlwind, her blades slicing through armor, blue blood spraying, but their numbers surged, a relentless tide. "Liam, go!" she shouted, voice hoarse, parrying a spear thrust, scales quivering with strain. Liam hesitated, fingers tightening on the controls, his jaw set. Leaving her meant losing their only ally, but staying meant death for Milo and the others. "Damn it!" he muttered, slamming the throttle. The shuttle lurched, engines screaming, lifting off as the bay doors groaned open, revealing Zykra's green desert and twin suns, one red, one blue, blazing beyond. Plasma bolts scorched the hull, grazing the shuttle, sparks flaring across the console. Liam swerved, banking hard, the craft shuddering as it cleared the bay, soaring into the open sky. The prisoners gasped, clinging to straps, faces pale but alive with hope. Milo stared out the viewport, the emerald sands of Zycra shrinking below, his voice soft but heavy. "She saved us, Liam." "Serena." Liam didn't reply, eyes fixed on the nav screen, plotting a course to Eridanus, the nearest human colony, 12 light-years away. But a red alert flashed, Krendar interceptors, 3 of them, angular and predatory, rising from a distant base, their plasma cannons glowing. "Hold on," Liam growled, pushing the engines to their limit, the shuttle rattling like a tin can in a storm. He banked again, diving toward a canyon, green sand dunes flashing past, using the terrain to mask their signal. The interceptors followed, relentless, their bolts tearing chunks from the canyon walls, dust and rock exploding in their wake. In the chaos, a prisoner, a man with a grafted metal arm, stumbled to the cockpit, voice trembling but sharp. "You're no ordinary pilot," he said, eyes narrowing, studying Liam's precise movements, the way he anticipated the enemy's attacks. "That's military training. Special forces, isn't it?" Liam's jaw tightened, a flicker of memory surfacing, unbidden. He hadn't always been a transport pilot, hauling supplies through the frontier. 5 years ago, he'd been Lieutenant Carver, Earth's Orbital Defense Force, Covert Ops. Missions in deep space, infiltrating pirate bases, sabotaging alien outposts, jobs where survival demanded instinct and precision. He'd left after a failed op, one that cost his squad, their faces haunting him still. Guilt had driven him to the frontier, to a quiet life, until Milo's disappearance pulled him back into the fire. Not now! Liam snapped, dodging another plasma bolt, the shuttle grazing a dune, sand spraying across the viewport. The man pressed, voice insistent. You move like them, trained killers. You've done this before. Liam shot him a glare, cold as steel. Focus, or we're dead. The interceptors closed in, their cannons locking on. Liam's mind raced, calculating. The shuttle's weapons were minimal, a single pulse cannon, barely enough to dent armor. But the canyon narrowed ahead, a bottleneck. He saw it, a chance. Milo, take the gun controls, he ordered, voice calm but unyielding. Milo hesitated, brown eyes wide, but nodded, sliding into the gunner's seat, hands shaking but steadying on the triggers. Liam dove lower, skimming the canyon floor, green sand swirling in their wake. The interceptors followed, too fast, too confident. At the bottleneck, Liam yanked the controls, pulling up sharply, the shuttle screaming as it cleared the gap. The lead interceptor couldn't adjust, slamming into the canyon wall, exploding in a fireball that consumed the second craft. The third veered, damaged, limping back to base. The prisoners cheered, voices hoarse but triumphant. Milo exhaled, slumping in the seat, a faint smile breaking through his pain. Liam didn't smile. His eyes stayed on the stars, now visible as they broke Sycra's atmosphere. Eridanus was their hope, but the Kremnar wouldn't let them go so easily. And Serena, if she survived, she'd face a traitor's fate. He gripped Milo's folding knife in his pocket, its weight a vow, no one else left behind. The escape shuttle streaked through Sycra's upper atmosphere, hull glowing red from friction, the twin suns fading to distant specks behind. Liam Carver kept his hands steady on the controls, eyes scanning the nav screen, plotting a hyperspace jump to Eridanus. The cockpit was cramped, air heavy with sweat and fear, the hum of engines a constant pulse. Milo sat beside him, bandaging his wounded arm with torn cloth, brown eyes fixed on the stars, a mix of awe and exhaustion. The 6 prisoners in the hold whispered among themselves, voices low but alive with fragile hope. A man with a grafted arm, a Gryvac with warped scales, a feathered creature clutching a shard of metal like a talisman. They'd escaped Sycra's arena, its green sands and blood-soaked pillars, but the Kremnar Empire was a hunter that never relented. A proximity alert blared, red lights flashing across the console. Liam's jaw tightened. They found us, he said, voice low, almost a growl. 3 Kremnar warships, angular and predatory, emerged from hyperspace, their plasma cannons charging, blue-green light pulsing like a heartbeat. The shuttle's pulse cannon was no match, and their shields were paper-thin. Options? Milo asked, voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. Liam didn't answer, mind racing, calculating trajectories, fuel reserves, anything to outrun death. He punched the controls, diverting power to the engines, the shuttle lurching as it accelerated, stars blurring outside. The warships followed, relentless, their cannons firing, plasma bolts grazing the hull, sparks erupting in the cockpit. A prisoner screamed, clutching a seat as the shuttle shook. We can't outrun them! The man with the grafted arm shouted, voice cracking. Liam ignored him, eyes locked on the nav screen. A nebula loomed ahead, a swirling cloud of gas and dust, glowing faintly purple, dense enough to mask their signal. It was a gamble. Navigation would be hell, and the nebula's radiation could fry their systems. But it was their only shot. Hold tight, Liam ordered, diving toward the nebula, the shuttle rattling as it entered the cloud, purple light flooding the cockpit. The warships hesitated, their signals fading on the scanner, wary of the nebula's hazards. Liam exhaled, but the relief was fleeting. The console sparked, radiation warnings flashing. Shields at 20%. Milo read, voice tense, hands gripping the co-pilot's controls. Liam adjusted course, weaving through denser pockets of gas, the shuttle groaning under the strain. A power surge hit, lights flickering, the hum of engines faltering. We're losing thrust. The Gryvac prisoner growled, warp scales glinting in the dim light. Liam slammed a fist on the console, rerouting auxiliary power, his training kicking in, every crisis a puzzle, every solution a fight. Then, a new signal blinked on the scanner, faint but growing stronger. Not Krendar. Human. Liam's eyes narrowed, hope flickering like a distant star. A transmission crackled through, distorted but clear enough. This is Vanguard, Eridanus Defense Fleet. Identify yourself. Liam grabbed the comm, voice steady despite the chaos. This is Liam Carver, XODF, piloting a stolen Krendar shuttle. Carrying 7 escapees from Xykra. Request immediate assist. A pause, then the voice returned, sharp with disbelief. Carver? Lieutenant Carver? Stand by. The Vanguard, a human frigate, emerged from the nebula's edge, its sleek hull glinting, pulse cannons primed. It fired a salvo, not at the shuttle but at the Krendar warships, now daring to pursue. Plasma met plasma, explosions lighting the nebula like a cosmic storm. The prisoners cheered, voices hoarse, some weeping, others laughing in disbelief. Milo gripped Liam's shoulder, a silent thank you, his brown eyes shining. The Vanguard's captain came online. We've got you, Carver. Dock in Bay 3. Liam guided the shuttle, hands steady, the frigate's lights a beacon in the dark. As they docked, the prisoners exhaled, the weight of Xykra lifting, if only for a moment. Liam stood, helping Milo up, his brother's frail frame leaning on him. They'd escaped, but Serena's fate gnawed at him. She'd stayed behind, her sword raised against impossible odds. And the Krendar wouldn't forget. The war wasn't over. Liam gripped Milo's folding knife, its etched face a reminder of his vow, protect his brother, no matter the cost. As they stepped onto the Vanguard, human soldiers saluting, Liam's eyes turned to the stars. Eridanus was safety, but also a rallying point. The fight for humanity, for freedom, had just begun.